next couple weeks if you would. And if we don't fill those in, I will basically draft people, okay?
So do you still want people to present already until?
No, if you have already presented, you're on hold for now.
I feel special.
How many did you make?
32.
32, okay. Extra copies. Thank you.
If I get yelled at.
Thank you, Dean. No, let's find out. I didn't. You know what? They took the controllers out for this one. I apologize. If you want to slide over here, welcome to do so. Everybody, any extra copies floating out there? There should be at least 2 left. Who needs one yet?
Mine's a donut.
Extra copies, look around. Justice need one? All right, you know what, will you put the copy in the handout when you hit everybody with email? Okay, thank you. Let's give it up to Dean one more time. Let's get him ready. Okay. Now here's the question.
That's mine.
Why do we need an article on creativity
Part of it.
when we're talking about change? Fair question.
Because your change has to be creative. I don't need that. Your change has to be creative. Not to use the word.
I'm just saying. All right, here we go, Dean. After you found it? Who needs copies? Thank you. Thank you, Dean.
All right. Who here considers himself a genuinely creative person?
Depends on the medium.
Yeah. Unfortunately, everyone didn't raise their hands, and that's becoming a growing thing in this country, especially in our younger children. The elementary school age kids, they're starting to be way less creative, and partly that's because of everything's becoming standardized. Teachers are teaching off of a formula. They have to say, learn this, learn that, and here's how. They're not doing any problem-based solving. They're not doing any projects. They're just learning what they need to do to get from A to B. All right, so what does creativity mean to me? It's actually one of the biggest topics in my life, but I'll get back to that soon. So on the back of your handout, you'll see 3 pictures, and they're also on this slide. The biggest thing for me is I think creativity is solving problems that have not occurred yet. As an engineer, that's a big thing. And especially as a logistics engineer that deals with forklifts on the daily, I need to make sure no one's going to die.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I also think it's important to think of how you can create things out of nothing. So I do this through 3D modeling, I do this through 3D printing, I do this through so many different ways that it just is one of the biggest things to me. And also seeing things as they could be, not as they are. And I showed a comics because that's a way people show all kinds of their different visions. So, what does creativity mean to you? How much of your daily lives involve projects? In the article, they talked about how they did a study where a group of kids did a project for like 75% of their school day. And they actually ended up doing way better on standardized tests because they did a project-based thing. They were able to make their own problems. They didn't just have to say how to solve a simple problem. And how often are you told to answer something and had no part in discovering that information? That's why project-based learning is the way to go. And now that I've gotten a good intro going, I want everyone to open their file to the middle. I'm going to assume everyone read this article. So you saw the activity in the middle where they had a randomly drawn shape and everyone had to create a picture out of that. So I'm not going to make everyone do that, but each of you have a unique shape drawn in. I want you to take 15 seconds to think about what that picture could become.
Who wants to draw, Dean? No?
Does anyone really want to share what they think their object could be and what it started out as? Yes.
So at first mine started off as just a regular airplane, but now I made it into a flying ice cream cone.
It's very creative. Anyone else? Oh.
Mine was like a line in a quarter circle, and it kind of looks like a pirate ship.
There you go. Yes.
Mine kind of started to look like a lightning bolt, but then I was like, it looks like the Harry Potter,
Thanks. And I saw your hand first. So.
but it was lights. And I kind of made a Christmas tree, it was like lights.
That's a nice one. And last one.
Mine
Sorry.
looks like a tennis ball with like ball packs because it was missing its other little trees. But I made it into a lady.
Nice. All right. So part of this, I want you to visualize your own 3 pictures. I showed mine on the back of your sheet and also on the last slide. What kind of pictures would you visualize as creativity to you? You don't need to draw anything. You don't even need to write it if you don't want to. Just think about the 3 things that are creativity. And as you're doing that, I'm going to say why. Why are those things the creativity to you? Why do you want to use those instead of something else? Because we need to get back to always asking why. When you were 2, you asked why every time you heard a word. Why aren't you doing that anymore? Are you just not curious? Are you afraid to hear the answer? Are you afraid to ask the question? Get back to asking why and think about the last time you asked why. And now for why creativity is such a big part of my life. A bit of background about me. I'm a mechanical engineering student with 6 internships, but only 5 of those are in engineering. My sophomore year, I decided I needed to make some money, pay for school, so I applied for a creative writing internship, which is something you do not hear from engineers, but I decided to go for it, and I got it. So I spent fall doing that, and from that I was able to grow a freelance writing business and paid for most of my sophomore year through that, all through my own business. So I put that on my LinkedIn, of course, and then last December a professor from Georgetown contacted me. At first I thought it was spam. I decided to reach out back to him. He said he saw my unique ideas. He saw that I was a very odd engineer. So he reached out to me and said, I want to collaborate on a project with you. So he said, do you want to write a book with me? And I said, yes.
Yeah.
I want to write about creativity for engineers. So just like our project in this class is reach out to people and interview with them, that's what this book was. I reached out to hundreds of different engineers across the country, and I said, hey, I'm writing a book about creativity for engineers. What is your perspective on this? Would you like to interview with me? And I have actually had many interviews with people from companies such as Blue Cloud. I had one from Ford, Moen. Name a big company, it's a chance I at least reach out to them. So through those interviews, I was able to ask questions about their creativity, how they became an engineer, why they became an engineer, and how they think that creativity changes how an engineer can do their job. And from this, I was able to learn so much through it, and I was able to write many stories that all would come together to be a book. And that was the biggest thing with that. And I also, all the topics in this article were things that I had basically discovered from interviewing people, which is why I saw the title and wanted to volunteer for this one.
You were designed for this article.
I really was. I didn't just read an article, I already had over 100 hours of research into it.
Boom.
What's the title of your book, Dean?
Oh, well, the Georgetown professor wanted me to lie a lot, so I left the project. It got to a point where I was afraid to even tell my employer about the topic, so I decided it was best for me to leave the project.
Did you take any of your work with you?
I have all my work, and after college I'll probably return to it.
And please make note, a change requires you to stick to your values. What do you do? I think that's what.
So I want everyone to continue thinking about what creativity means to them and how you can make yourself become better at using creativity in your daily life, and how you can help others in your community become better at being creative. Thank you.
This is the easiest coaching job ever. Okay, so Ryan, Andrew, and Emerald, feedback please for the amazing Mr. Dean Miller.
So,
In any order.
yeah, so, like I said, I think you were designed for this article. You know this topic, you definitely exuded your knowledge of it and your understanding. Short, concise, full of information, definitely knew your stuff, so.
And you own the space.
Absolutely. Little wavering every once in a while, but I mean, I think you absolutely made up for it with just how comfortable you were with the subject, even though maybe presentations aren't your thing. This subject was just you throughout.
This is my first speech since the first week of freshman year. So.
Utterly impressed. Utterly
You did
impressed.
good.
Engineers don't do that.
I'm gonna send a note to Mike Tooley, your dean, tomorrow, and tell him about this experience, seriously.
Can you sign the entire class on that?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, who's up?
Yeah, so as he said, I mean, you do phenomenal. I mean, the way you interacted with us and like kind of this whole handout was just perfect. It was beautiful. One thing I would say is take a deep breath, man. There were times where I was like, okay, is he breathing? I don't know. Okay. Take a deep breath, and I mean, I think that would just calm your nerves. And other than that, you did a great job.
Dean, how nervous were you on a scale of 1 to 10?
I've been freaking out all day.
I'll take that as a 10, okay? All right, but you know what though, now, what did you learn by doing this?
That I'll probably freak out next time.
Negative self-talk, no. What should he have learned? Hannah, what should Dean have learned?
I don't know if this is the answer that you're looking for, but.
I'm just asking.
All right, well, I'll tell you. So I see a lot that you're very quiet, you're very observant, and this was like a whole other side of you that I've never seen before. And like not being afraid to get up and really like own any space you're in, even if you're not presenting. I think that's really something you can take away.
You were the landlord up there. You took control of the space. You were the master. You may have been uncomfortable, with the exception of 2 pauses. Could you tell he was that nervous? No. I think you mastered your nervousness. You choked it down, and to your credit, I don't think you ever have to. Again, being nervous, everybody gets nervous for a presentation, but you don't allow it to debilitate you because you didn't today. You overcame. All right. Well, who's up? Emerald.
So I love the topic because the topic is near and dear to my heart because I want to go into the creative field myself. I loved how you posed the question as to, when was the last time you actually asked why? And that was amazing to me because like I haven't in a very long time. Not for like the right reasons, but I loved it. You did a great job. I don't feel like you were nervous at all because you did interact with us very well. So, and I love the fact that you're recording yourself too for like kind of your own.
Because it's my first speech in 4 years.
The critiques, by the way. So you're doing a great job. Just keep up the great work.
Any other comments? Please. Haley.
I feel like we all do, but I know Hannah knows what I'm talking about, but I don't know if anybody else knows like Michael Gino, and he does like killer presentations. I mean, they're not even a presentation; they're this huge like engagement with the audience. It's this adventure we go on every time he speaks. I swear, but he gets people excited when he speaks, and I honestly don't think I've been as excited when somebody presents as I am with him and like with you as well. So.
You caught us all off guard. Like,
Yeah, agreed.
who was surprised besides me? All right, so you got us. You got us. All right, Keith, comment.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, like, I don't think I've stopped smiling, like, since I don't know, like, I've never considered myself, like, a really creative person, like, with, like, the whole, like, art thing and everything, but, like, when you start to ask, like, why, and, like, really, like, coming up with, like, those other ways to be creative, like, when I think creative, like, I just think art, like, drawing and, like, those kind of things, and, like, I think you probably put in, like, a different kind of creativity in every single person's head in this room, and I don't know, like, I'm literally probably gonna think about this presentation all night, like how to be more creative. I don't know. I think
Here's the footnote too. When you write a paper, is there anything stopping you from having the cover of your paper? If a picture paints 1,000 words and first impressions count, shouldn't the cover of every paper you write be awesome?
I'm gonna change theirs for next week.
So there you go. Yeah, but no, I'm just saying that's an important point. But why not inject some creativity, if you would, into the design of your papers? You know, the cover story of your paper. There's so many opportunities. People say, Clint, you didn't give us any guidelines for this PDA assignment